What's up, Moneyball family? I'm Jason, and I'm here with Donovan, and we got a really special guest here today. Somebody that's played in over 500 NHL games, some with the Toronto Maple Leafs, some with the Buffalo Sabres, our favorite team. Ladies and gentlemen, Darryl Shannon.
Hey guys,
Hey,
glad to be here with you.
Hello,
oh,
hello. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
yeah, thank you again, Darryl. Now,
Oh, yeah.
I want to start with the you were obviously born in Ontario, Canada. You got drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Growing up, were they your favorite team? Were you a Canadiens fan? What was that moment like?
Yeah, so I guess I grew up playing hockey in my basement downstairs, and during intermissions, I would go up and watch Peter Puck. So my parents watched the Leafs all the time, and by default, I guess that's kind of what I watched. But Peter Puck was was my favorite. And they had that this is before your guys' time, I'm guessing, but they had showdown in between the second and third, and if I was able to stay awake, that was my next the next step.
Now I'm familiar with Hockey Night in Canada, Don Cherry here, but
Right.
Peter Puck, elaborate. Help me out here.
Cartoon that went in between the first
Okay,
and
okay.
second intermission that I don't know. Yeah, just that, a cartoon. And I don't know, it was kind of legendary, but
Okay, yeah, I'm
I
looking it up.
guess
I'm
I'm
looking it
dating
up now.
myself. Yeah, I was a little kid watching it, so yeah,
At
it
what
was
age did you start skating and playing hockey?
I think I was 5 years old when I started my hockey for the first time, and skating, I don't know. I think we just put skates on and went as a family, and did. I'm one of three boys,
I
so I
mean,
don't know.
you grew up in Canada, right? So you
Yeah,
come out, you're in the delivery room. I think they give you maybe the blanket, maybe a pacifier, and a little hockey stick or some skates.
well, they start with a stick, and then the
They
skates
start with
come
the
on
stick.
Okay,
for
all
your
right.
first birthday, maybe. So
I
yeah,
We
but
we had the chance. We had Rob Ray on here, a few weeks ago, and it was a similar story. Very well. He was, very small town, and kind of gave us the. I went out every day. We had the ice, the pond in the back, and just played almost every single day, just with the boys and the neighborhood, and sounded just like a movie or a place, a very scenic place that I would want to be. Right.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Did he
he
did he forget to tell you that he got beat up by his sister all the time?
he did not tell us that, but now
Yeah.
that I know this is great intel.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
So
So
we
at least I had two brothers that I got to fool around with. I
well,
was fortunate enough, though. I was the oldest, so what would I say? We became really good friends when my brothers became bigger than me. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed being the oldest growing up. So that's
That's
the
how
no,
it goes. I keep telling my kids, I keep telling my oldest, I say, hey man, the younger's he's 2 years younger. I said, and I can already tell he's gonna be a big boy. I said, watch it. You keep messing with him, he's gonna come back with a vengeance,
yeah, yeah. Or else you got to be smart enough to be friends with them at that time.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
What
So
what other what other sports did you play growing up? Were you interested? Was hockey always kind of like, hey, I'm going to be a professional hockey player when I grow up type thing? Was that the dream, or were there other sports you were involved with, or how did the path go?
baseball and hockey.
Okay,
But saying that baseball was my favorite sport, I played it all the time, and but growing up in Canada, I don't know, hockey just took over.
sure.
So it's just the way things go. So
seems
Sure.
to happen up there.
we didn't know what baseball was until you crossed the border, right?
That's right.
Then it's another level.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
You got the Blue Jays up there, Daryl.
We
Yeah.
do, but yeah, I don't know. It just takes it to another level.
yeah, for
Now,
sure. I know exactly what you're saying. It's class A and then a far B, right, for baseball. I'm actually surprised I think you're the first guest we've had on former hockey that has said that baseball was the second passion. We've had some lacrosse or football, right, and some other, right, Jay? And I'm an enormous baseball fan. I bleed baseball, so hearing that is awesome that you were playing. I just haven't heard that a whole lot from Canada.
Yeah. Nolan Ryan and
Yeah, was he the guy?
Ozzie Smith. Yeah, those
Yeah,
two.
yeah, he's a legend.
that's a
Yeah.
good one.
The things really that is most notable about your career, just Iron Man. I mean, you really you put a lot of years in, you took a lot of hits, unsung hero type player, very unselfish, and having all those years, especially in your position, like I just said, unsung, you don't get a whole lot of the fame and fortune, right, that comes with being like a left wing center superstar. And I really just want to give you kudos for, I mean, you're just looking through and seeing, you're in 76 games, 72 games, you had a lot of years where you almost played a full slate of games, which in the NHL is just extremely difficult to do. Were you always training real hard? Did you have a certain regimen that you kept up to? Was it luck? I mean, what do you attest that to?
Probably a combination of everything, but it's funny you say that. I did play with the Teddy Nolan year. I played the full season, and that's something I was really proud of. And
Sure.
I was like, oh my, that really meant something. So, but prior to that, I played 5 years in Toronto, and I think 1 year I played maybe 10 actual games. I skated almost every single day. So there was several seasons in Toronto that I didn't play. I just kind of sat in the bench and never played. So, the career takes funny twists and turns.
Yeah.
I was a talented enough player in junior and getting to the pros. Maybe I took things for granted. And then I learned that to get there and to stay, unless you're like a McGillney or guys like that are just so good that
Sure.
That's where they're going to be. You had to do something special, and you had to be consistent and play consistent every single night and every single game. And I learned that, and then you end up taking pride in that, and it becomes I get by on hard work and playing a simple game, and once you can accomplish that, then what would I say? Then you become more comfortable, and then you can start doing things that are a little bit more special, such as like maybe take advantage of some power play times or stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. And everyone has their own story, but that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
They do, and that's why we like to hear everyone's story. And I love hearing that too. That's inspirational, to hear. It's a good message, right? And that kind of goes back to the core of what Jay and I are always kind of talking about with personalities that we have on. One common theme is just the hard work, right? The steadfast hard work. Nothing was handed to anybody, right? I mean, there is some players who are just so unbelievably, talented with that Canadian stick in hand, where you just know, right? You can see him on the ice. The Connor McDavid, right? Or Connor Bedard, who's coming up.
Yeah.
That guy, I think when he was 14, 15 years old, every scout in America and Canada knew he was extremely special, right? And it was just that rare bird. But then, the hard work is just such a good message. And I always like my kids to listen to these and get that message from athletes like you.
I look at guys like Chris Drapers and guys like that are like 50 goal scorers in junior. There's all kinds of them. And it takes a special person to all of a sudden to make the next jump. The game changes, a lot of things change, but then all of a sudden he's the goal scorer. He's the guy in junior hockey or college, because they're the same.
Sure.
To make the next step, all of a sudden he's a fourth line player for 5 or 6 years. And then he gets a chance to be a penalty killer. And then all of a sudden he scores some goals when he's penalty killing. And I just picked Chris Draper because that's the guy that stuck out, because I never had much respect for him. And then I'm like, as I found out a little bit more, I'm like, oh my God, he's a 50 goal scorer. Like this guy he's the real deal, but he's been penalty killing and a fourth line player in Detroit, and Detroit had a good team.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as their older guys, get old, and then Draper steps up and he's the man. He's well-rounded. He does everything, but you got to find your whatever it is to make it. And being a whiny, I'll say, cancer, you're not going to get anywhere. And you're you got to be a positive guy, and
I love it.
or else you're not going to. People don't want you around.
Yeah, and listen, that's any sport, and that's any job, that's any walk of life, right? I mean, that could be at your job if you're, whatever you're doing in life. So I agree with you 100%.
Selfishly, I'd like to talk about the Sabres years, as I was just a massive fan at that time. And obviously you guys made the Stanley Cup finals, and we all know how that ended. Can you take me through the emotions of
You always got to bring this up, Jay. You always got to bring this up.
it's I remember where I was. I remember the emotions I felt.
Me too.
But man,
So do I.
yeah, I would love to. I would love to
does
hear kind of like a behind the scenes look of what was the locker room like. What was going on? What was being said? Like, just take me back.
I feel naive and almost a little ignorant when I tell this story, but so anyways, after the goal and then Dallas, before I even thought the puck went in the net, the doors opened and they're celebrating, not the Dallas, but the NHL's out there celebrating. So I'm like, oh my God, that happened so quick. And that's the first thing that stuck in my head. But so they do the celebration. I remember coming back in the dressing room, the guys are all quiet and then it seemed like 5 minutes later, but the coaching staff comes in the locker room and they're pissed off and they're kicking the sticks and they're through whatever. They're pissed off. And I just remember sitting there thinking in my head, I'm like, got Lindy, we lost. It's done. I don't understand why you're so upset. And then I remember showering and I did not find out that it was a no goal and why the coaching staff was mad and why everybody was mad until 2 hours after the whole game.
Wow.
So I remember sitting there going, what? I don't get what everyone's so upset about.
Okay.
So it was surprising. Then I also remember talking to a couple reporters. They ran down immediately after the goal so that they can and some of the reporters didn't catch and didn't know that it was a no goal until 5 or 10 minutes after as well. So it was there was a lot of people that were surprised, and then there was a lot of people that were in disbelief and knew right away. But yeah, it was just bizarre. The whole thing was bizarre.
It really was. It's rated number 4 or 5 as ESPN's worst calls in sports history.
Yeah, well,
is it really?
Yeah, and there's just no explanation.
I can imagine what the first 4 are.
I remember. That's a good question. I do remember a couple. One of them was there was a Colorado Buffaloes college football game where they gave them 5 downs, and Colorado scored on the very last play to win the game. And then I remember another one only because it's one of my favorite players, Derek Jeter's world playoff home run where that Jeffrey Mayer reached out and obviously it was not going to be a home run and he caught it and they called it a homer. So that was one of I don't remember the other 2 though. So
yeah,
that's an interesting dynamic though. You saying that and not knowing, right? I mean, that's so interesting to me and seeing, obviously how upset the coaching staff was and from a player, because you wouldn't, obviously it's the Stanley Cup, right? I mean, this is what you're working so hard to get to. This is the biggest accomplishment in sports for an NHL player. And you're saying, wow, man, these guys are so upset, right? But and then not knowing that is really an interesting, perspective. And then once you found out and then you watched it and reviewed it, if you did it bring that fury, that everyone else had, or did you have kind of like a, hey, this is over, move on kind of attitude?
Yeah, it is. It's just too late. There's just nothing you can do. It's very disappointing. I will say though, unlike a lot of people who said we would have won if that goal, it's not that easy.
Right.
We still had a long journey ahead of us.
Sure. You still had to score a goal.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's very tough. It's very frustrating. And I guess the only thing I would say, I try not to get too wrapped up because it is done. I look at it as disappointing as it is. it was just a privilege to be there. It was like I think you touched on it. That's what you play for.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine winning. Like, I was just to get in the playoffs.
Hoisting that baby up.
So to make that comment, you said 500 and some games, but you start off by playing, all you want to do is play one game. That's really all that matters. And then you can play 1,000 games. It's never enough. You always want more, but you really it's just playing one game. It's you grow up. That's all you care about.
Yeah.
Pardon me. That's all I cared about. And that's all my brothers cared about. And my friends. And that's what we were, playing street hockey.
Do you still keep in touch with a lot of the players on the Sabres? You did decide to make Buffalo your home, right? And you did obviously play in a few other cities after Buffalo. What was special about Buffalo? Was it a brotherhood, or was it, the area itself, or what made it that you decided, Buffalo was going to be home for you and your family?
Well, I'll touch on a couple different things. So I'm from place called Alliston, an hour north of Toronto. So it's 2.5 hours from Buffalo. So
Okay.
it's pretty convenient.
Yeah.
I married a Buffalo girl. So
there
this
you go.
is
Okay.
home for her. This is Buffalo has, to me, again, I'm a small town guy. So this is a big city. There's no traffic. I'm close to home. People are friendly. You run into people.
Yeah.
It's just a great place. I enjoy it. We enjoy it. So and that's what's important for us.
It gets a bad rap in a lot of ways, and you're right. It does give you that vibe and that feel where it's comfortable. And I think all of us have been to big cities. My wife in particular loves New York City, and I can't stand it. Right? She says, "Oh man, I wish so badly I lived in New York City." And I'm like, Trish, where would you live? And how would you get up every day? Imagine that hectic, crazy lifestyle.
No thanks.
Yeah,
So,
no thanks.
I'll also touch, you say people, I remember coming to Buffalo. We stayed at the Adams Mart. So we drive in, you see the Skyway, you see downtown after every game. There's nothing to do downtown, nothing to eat. So that's our first impression. Then as I went from Toronto, I got traded to Winnipeg. So in Winnipeg, instead of busing in, we fly in. But the same thing, you go down 33, you see a big cemetery, and you're not getting to know Buffalo, what Buffalo really is.
Right. Alex Iafallo, he's a local Buffalo kid. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's from Eden, winger for the Kings.
Yes.
He has some local connections, right? In this area. Like I said, Eden is 10 minutes from me. My kids play baseball in Eden, so he's obviously a big deal. And it's funny you just said that, because the path, this kid's 25 years old. He's been out in LA, and he's designing surfboards, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. He gets the call a couple of weeks ago that he's heading to Siberia. He's off to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some people could say Buffalo is this cold, wintry Siberia, but tell me about Winnipeg. I mean, is it it's hockey or hockey, right? Or is it, how is it? I don't think I'll ever be in Winnipeg.
They have the Blue Bombers, which is a football team.
They what?
Yeah.
Well, I just laughed when I got traded from Winnipeg to Buffalo from Winnipeg. I think they set a record. It was like -40 consecutively for like 3 weeks in a row or something like that.
Oh.
But I also want to say it was a cold winter everywhere. So when I came to Buffalo, everyone's like, it's freezing here. And I'm like, you have no idea but it's what freezing is. But you know what? I think Winnipeg is again, underrated city. Even guys around the league, a lot of them don't like it, but majority of the time what happens is it's cold enough that a lot of the wives don't like it. And then obviously if the guys are there and their wives are not happy, they're not happy. But I think you find a lot of single guys that once they get out in the community, it's a great city.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well,
Darryl, I'd like to.
It reminds me of Buffalo, the same size, but it's on an island. Buffalo, you can drive to Toronto. You can fly to New York City. You can,
Right.
there's lots
That's
of
why.
other
That's why I
options.
kind of, that Siberia is why I call it that, just because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, and it's cold.
For
So
sure.
Daryl, I'd like to touch a little bit on you got selected in the expansion draft for the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to know how that felt. Like, were guys excited at the time? Were they pissed off? Like, what was your reaction to being selected in that?
well, they kind of told me beforehand that I was going to be selected. So
Okay.
I think Lindy and I had a conversation, and he wanted to be honest with me, and leaving the Sabres, and after the year we had, I was very disappointed about that because I again, I like it here. I like the group of guys, I like the team. It's fun winning. But there was an opportunity, and Buffalo may have been the furthest south that I've been.
Wow.
So going to
Yeah.
Atlanta
Toronto,
was,
Winnipeg.
yeah, well, going to Atlanta was, it was a new adventure. It was a huge challenge. I had some dehydration issues, so going down to Atlanta in the hot weather and playing a lot of hockey there was a challenge, and the team struggled or didn't do as well as we were hoping. So, yeah, I don't know.
I like to call that the Atlanta project. It was never a good idea, and it didn't end well. So let's stick to baseball. I love my Braves. Let's stick to
Yeah.
baseball,
That you
Atlanta.
do.
So
It's
go
not
to
going
Atlanta.
to work.
Go to Atlanta. I was so disappointed when the postseason comes or the playoffs come. Half the stadium was filled.
Yeah.
They make it 10 years in a row, so nobody even cares until they're in the finals. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
You come back to why did I stay here? There's a large group of guys that were part of the 99 group that stayed here. There's a large group of Calgary guys. I don't know what year it was, and when they won, Detroit, same thing. All the guys stayed there that won.
Oh, that's
I mean, the
interesting.
Sabres here in the 70s, they had some good years.
Yeah.
Florida, there was an excitement in Florida. Tampa's off the charts. They've been spoiled forever, but
Yep.
Florida is a good example. They were excited, then they were losing and they sucked and they couldn't get anybody in the stands. And now it's happening again. It all has to do with winning.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Tampa's packed, sold out, packed.
To your point, that has to do with options too. No one wants to go see a crappy game.
Yeah.
There's lots of other things to do.
Especially
Now,
in
you
the middle of the
played
desert.
when you were with other teams. Sorry, Jay, you got one?
No. I said especially in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
When you were playing, Toronto, a few other teams, and you got to play at the Odd, and then I think was your first year in Buffalo. Was that the last year of the Odd?
Correct. Yep.
Did you get to play a year in it, or was it the first year of Marine Midland?
No, I played my first year was here. What was it? 95, 96, which was the last year of the Odd. So I came here in February. So as a previously visiting here as a visitor, the Odd sucked. It was dressing room sucked.
Yep.
The fans sucked. Everything sucked. It just but then you come here as when you're home as a home rink, and it was awesome. Again, I was only here for maybe 2 months, but just lucky enough to be able to say that I enjoyed it. Oh, you know what? I enjoyed it, and I played the last game against Hartford Whalers.
Yes.
I forget who. Malik, I think, is a big defenseman, took a slap shot at the end of the game and as the buzzer rang, I caught the last puck ever used in the game.
No kidding.
So I know they made a big deal that Patty LaFontaine went down, but I had the actual puck.
You have it? You still have the puck?
No, I gave it away to some friend. So I was trying to be nice. And then I look back now, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Why wouldn't I?
Right. Well, yeah. I have a real quick funny story about the Odd when they were demolishing it. It was, back because they didn't demolish it for a couple of years. Marine Midland was built, and then the Odd still stood there just as an eyesore. And finally, they decided
they had to give all the Southtown guys enough time to come and pick away whatever they wanted.
Well, here's where I'm going with that. That's a great segue. So this thing, they start imploding it and everything, and now there's just a chain link fence around it. that's only thing preventing me as a 20-year-old, right, who really wants to get in and get some artifacts. So me and my buddy hopped the fence. We went in there. I walked up that they were like the decrepit, stairs up to the Reds and everything. And it was so cool. They had, the old Pepsi machines, the concession stands were kind of half intact. And it sent chills up my spine, man, just, being there and all the history and everything. So we were able to get into a room. We opened it up and we ransacked it, and we came all these stat things. There was there was all kinds of stuff in there. And let's hope I'm not, statute of limitations, right? I think I'm safe. But we made out of there like bandits, and we had all kinds of stuff. My idiot friend went back because it wasn't enough. He got busted. He went
that's
for
funny.
more. He got arrested the whole night. But that's my odd story.
That's great.
Oh, that's good. No, everybody has an odd story. It was a great place, a lot of memories. So saying that my first year here was the last year of the odd, didn't make the playoffs. So it was a great 4 years. The next year we went the first round, the first year of the Marine Midland, and that was exciting. Played Ottawa. Then the following year progressed another round. So there was just a nice excitement the whole time that I was in Buffalo. And, even the first year we didn't make the playoffs. We had a hardworking team. It was a good bunch of guys. So and there was always controversy. The owners fighting, the coaches and the GMs fighting.
I forgot all about
it was
that.
just
the Ted Nolan with Hashik stuff
all the time, every year. It was crazy.
Yeah.
When was the whole ownership thing with what's their names?
The Regases or the
Knoxes? Seymour Knox, and then it went to the Riegers with Adelphia Cable, and they all got invited.
Yeah.
And then there was Ted Nolan with the stuff, and there was that. There was always controversy.
Lots
but
of them.
Played, in my opinion, you played on those 4 years, and I think those may have been, at least in my opinion, the best 4 years. There was just such a good mix of goal scorers, fighters, sarcastic, right? I mean, that locker room had to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was entertaining. So
who was the leading scorer back then? Was it Shatan? Was it
Mo Gilney?
No, McGillney was gone.
Oh yeah, he was in New Jersey. He was in New Jersey.
Was it?
Satan was there, but I would probably say Satan and I don't know, Pekka.
Yeah. How was your relationship with Hashik?
Oh, good. Yeah, it was. I think other than Barnaby, everyone probably got along with him. That doesn't,
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
But he speaks his mind. He lets you know what he's thinking. So, no, I got along good with Dom.
Yeah.
So
there was 1 year. I mean, a couple more if you don't mind. We don't want to keep you all night here, but there was 1 year. It was the year that you played all 82 games, and you could, I guess, directly relate it to playing all 82 games, but there was a couple other seasons you played 72, 74, 76, but there was a large uptick in penalty minutes that 82 game season. And I mean, probably double than any other year. Were you scrapping that year? Were you getting into it a little bit? Were you fighting more, or what's going on with that?
I don't know what that was all about. But it was
do you recall that? Like, did you know that at all or no?
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, it came down to like I got in a bunch more fights and stuff, but I don't know. Don't have an answer for you.
Who's the toughest guy you ever fought? Who did you ever square up against that you were like, oh boy, I shouldn't have done this?
Well, I don't know. I fought McSorley. I fought Brashear.
Oh man.
I fought I don't know.
That's two good ones right there.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you remember Shane Churla.
I don't remember that name. McSorley for sure, man. McSorley was a scrapper.
And Brashear was a beast.
Yeah. No. I don't know. A bunch of guys. So it's
okay. So what's the career win-loss here? I mean, come on. Are we 4-3-1 with a TKO? What do we got here?
Well, I don't know if I never got my ass kicked.
Good.
But I'm not knocking guys out either. So I held my own.
Yeah.
I was,
You certainly did, and that's why I'm asking those questions. And obviously, I'm being facetious, but I always remember you were just like I said, you were just the steadfast Mr. Reliable, you know. And if you needed to go get in somebody's face because they got in your goalie's way, you were doing it, you know, never backing down. Much respect for that.
no, thanks. I certainly like to think so, but you know, a lot of fun. I wish I was still able to do it.
Do you play at all? Do you play any? Do you play in any leagues?
Yeah, well, I have a couple pickup groups that I play with. So I've graduated. The 11 o'clock at night stuff doesn't work for me, so I play in the mornings where I start my day.
Yeah, I know the ice time. They'll ask me to go play, and I'm like, sure. When is it? Oh, it starts at 1:30 a.m.
Yeah,
because the ice time's so much cheaper. Nobody wants it. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
I got kids, man. I can't play at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
Donovan, what do you think? You want to do some rapid fire for
let's do some rapid fire. Yeah, we usually end it up here with rapid fire.
No, I didn't warn him about it. So
Okay.
you're gonna have to explain it here.
Okay. Rapid fire. We're just coming at you with 3 questions each. And you're just gonna kind of rapid fire is what it is. You're gonna answer as honestly and quickly as you can. Now, I do have a special guest tonight for my rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Don't be
What's your
knocking
son's
things
name?
over. Come on.
What's
This
your
is
son's
my
name?
son, Jackson.
Hey, Jackson.
Say hello.
Jackson, question for you. What's my middle name?
What?
What's my middle name?
Who? A reverse rapid fire.
Mitchell.
No, Jackson.
Oh, look
No
at that.
way.
Yeah, that was an old trickaroo,
Yeah.
right? That was a trickaroo. He said, what is my middle name? Because it's your name.
This is the first time we've had rapid fire turned around on us.
Yeah, I like that. I like what Darryl's doing here.
Yeah.
Who wants
Sneaky.
to start, Jay? You want to lead it off?
Sure, I'll lead it off. Give me your favorite Sabres jersey. What logo?
I wanted to say the traditional logo with the blue until this new comeback resurgence with the new black and the goat. I like it more and more, and that's what I knew growing up. Pardon me. So I'm not answering your question, but I got to stick with the traditional.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. I love that the goat has come back, and they've been playing great with the goat. So
yeah, they certainly last year was the year of the goat.
Yeah.
The more you see the goat, the more it grows on you. You guys are right.
I know.
I used to hate it.
Something about the goat.
All right, here's your first question, Jackson. Go ahead. This one right here.
Do you like wings or drums better?
Oh, wings. I used to be a
See how
drum
easy
guy.
that is?
I used to be a drum guy, but now I've learned how to eat wings, and it's wings.
Oh, so this is also the first we've had a switch. See, I'm a drum guy. Every
Yeah.
guest we've had on, I've asked, and I'm keeping a tally, and it's going to come out eventually. But you switched from the drum to the wing.
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a tough question though. I'm
Good
definitely
job.
I'm a saucy guy too. I like my barbecue.
Yes, me too.
I agree. Darryl, you mentioned the puck that you caught, and you don't have it anymore. Is there a piece of hockey memorabilia that you have that you hold near and dear to your heart?
There is a piece that I used to hold. My father had a puck that he used as a kid, and back then they never they had the same puck for, I want to say he had it for 20 years. It was like round, and you know how street hockey sticks get skinny?
Oh yeah.
That's how the puck was. It had no edges and it was round. And as we get maybe spoiled, we would take 4 or 5 pucks out in the pond and we lost his. But I always thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's great.
And as far as memorabilia for me, no, I don't really hang things and hold things here in my house. I asked Dominic Hasek if I could buy his blocker and glove the year that he won the Olympics, and he charged me $600 for it. And I end up buying that and
Get out of here.
made the mistake to give it away to a friend.
Oh,
What,
so-
you're giving all this stuff away to friends?
man.
I know.
What a guy, I'll tell you. And
I gotta be
he's giving it
I gotta
all
be
away.
Daryl's friend. I gotta be
Yeah.
Daryl's close friend.
It's
here.
gone.
I
We're
think
couple
it's a
years
little more
late.
comical that Hasek was like, sure, $600.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you've only been blocking pucks for me for
Yeah,
4
right,
years.
right.
You know,
Tom went through a stage where you couldn't, he wouldn't give autographs away and he wouldn't give anything away unless you
Really?
paid him.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting too. That's really crazy to me. That's interesting. All right,
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you got here?
Faster skater, you or Rob Ray?
Oh, definitely me. Yeah. Rob Ray was just there to look good.
Good question, Jack.
yeah, he's a looker for sure. I'll ask you this one, Darryl. Who's the greatest hockey player that you've ever played with?
Played with, you know, I Dominic is up there.
Yeah.
You know, you play with so many good players. It's hard to answer that. Timo Solani was a great player, but Alex Zamnoff, Kachuk, Clark, and Gilmore, and yeah, I could keep going on forever.
I love hearing the
But,
names too.
You played with a lot of good ones. I mean, over the years, you really did.
So I don't know, but you know, and then people also ask who's the best player you played against, and it's just tough to answer because you tend to remember guys that you played more often, or when you're not feeling good and they're playing well, they seem even better. And then the next day you play them, if you're playing well and they're not playing great, you go, oh my God, this guy's not that good.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of just timing, and maybe they walked around you and embarrassed you, and that seems to stick in your head. I don't know.
Right.
So
right.
You know, I think I'm almost surprised I didn't ask this question during the interview. But being a defenseman, right? And your era, you know, you had Gretzky, right? I mean, you played against
Yep.
Gretzky.
Yeah.
I got to hear a little bit about that before we wrap this up. I mean, in my opinion, there's just people can say, you know, Bobby Hall, Bobby Orr, whatever, but I mean, in my opinion, there's Gretzky is just legendary. I mean,
I'm a Lemieux guy for the record.
was Gretzky as graceful? You being back on defense, was there times where you were just in awe, right? And I know, I guess the competitive in you probably doesn't want to say that, but what were your thoughts while you were playing against Wayne Gretzky?
yeah, so when I was in Toronto, and I was a young guy, a young kid coming up, and the coach, the defensive coach, Gary Rivera, told me, I don't care where you are on the ice. If Gretzky steps on the ice, get off. And I literally, there was a 3-on-2, and all I heard is him yelling at me to get off the ice. They were coming down on us. And so I get off the ice as soon as I can, but I'll never forget. I didn't understand get off the ice for Gretzky. And like the next line is Anderson and Messier, and
Yeah,
it's
right,
the
right.
same thing. Like, well, so, but anyways, I never answered your question. Yeah, you that's one job that the coaches need to do with young guys is you have to forget who you're playing against. You have to respect them because you can't be as aggressive with certain guys.
Yep.
That's the one nice thing about the NHL is you get to know the guys. You get to it's the same guys playing time and time again. You can't be in awe. You can't respect them, but you have to respect them in other ways. And by not being aggressive, by giving them space. But it's just a fine line.
That's a great answer, and I know exactly what you're saying.
What's your favorite hockey player to watch now?
Like David,
David, yeah.
absolutely.
That's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't and everyone's going to say the same thing. The explosion, and he takes it to another level. It's just an exciting player.
This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you have a good time coming on with us for a little while?
Yeah, thank you very
Absolutely.
much, guys.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
it.
very much. You know, again, you're a nice guy, and hope to see you around Buffalo a little bit. And thanks for doing it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks,
Have fun at
Darryl.
school tomorrow.